The mission of Operation Epic Fury is laser focused. Destroy Iranian offensive missiles, destroy Iranian missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, and they will never have nuclear weapons.
This morning, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and General Dan Kane giving us updates on the strikes in Iran from over the weekend. And right now, joining us live, we have Senator James Lankford to talk about this ongoing operation. We want to welcome you in and say good morning to you. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
My first question to you is this a war that's happening right now with Iran?
Yeah, it's definitely a war. They're definitely experiencing it as a war. This is a culmination of trying to be able to stop a war for now years. We go all the way back to 1979 and the hostages and go forward to Beirut, to the USS Cole, to numerous individuals that were murdered in our armed forces when they were in Iraq by Iranian forces coming across the border to attack us. We've had 180 different attacks on American forces just in the last 3 years from Iran. And I think most Americans don't realize how often Iran or its proxies are attacking Americans and American forces. This has been an ongoing issue for a long time. So the challenge now is how do you make them stop their constant attack of Americans and then their pursuit of a nuclear weapon? The president's been very focused on trying to be able to keep them from having a nuclear weapon. Obviously, we dropped an ordinance on them last summer to stop it. They've now restarted that program all over again. So this is the part that no one wants to get to, is to say, why are we in a conflict with them? It's because we've got to make them stop attacking us.
Now, I do want to follow this up with, this is once again bringing up the conversation of congressional approval. Members of Congress divided on this. Do you think that the president needed congressional approval? Did you know about the strikes before they happened?
Well, I did not know the exact timing of the strikes, but I knew we were preparing at that point. I serve on the Intelligence Committee. I've seen a lot of the information that's coming into our intelligence folks about the threats that we're facing right now. The president has to make a difficult decision on this. One is about what the term imminent threat. The president has the authority to be able to put forces in the field if we're facing an imminent threat. That is, they were planning not just to attack American homeland. And I think this is where a lot of people get twisted off in the national media. They say, well, there's no intercontinental ballistic missile coming at us. Well, we have 750,000 Americans that live and work right around Iran. They're in Jordan, they're in Lebanon, they're in UAE, they're in Saudi Arabia, of course in Israel. There are a lot of Americans that live and work there. So as Iran is planning attacks on Americans, that becomes the issue. What does the president do to be able to stop that, to be able to make sure that they're not attacking Americans? Americans stand with Americans wherever they stand. So wherever they are in the world, we're going to protect Americans that are out there.
Yeah. Now, I know that Congress is supposed to be having discussions this week about the war powers resolutions. What do those conversations look like? What are the goals?
Yeah, we've got several different things. I'll be flying back. Literally, I'm leaving out from here and heading straight back right now to be able to get back. We've got to get Department of Homeland Security open again. My Democratic colleagues don't like what's going on with ICE, and so they blocked all funding to the Department of Homeland Security. That's TSA, that's Coast Guard, that's our cybersecurity professionals, that's Secret Service. There's a lot of folks in Homeland Security that, while they're holding up funding for ICE, is also holding up funding for all those things. We've got to resolve this. No matter what their opinion is about Iran right now, we got to be able to make sure that we're fully protected. That's our first priority for us to be able to get up. We've got to be able to talk about war powers. If we're going to extend this war and we're going to keep going on this, Congress should get involved in this to be able to talk about what are the parameters of this, what are the authorities the president has. The president has the authority to stop an attack before it comes, no matter where it is, but continuing on a war takes congressional action.
Yeah, and at what point would that be required? How much longer does this need to go on before Congress needs to step in?
Well, the Constitution doesn't make that clear. Typically, it's been about 30 days. That the president has a little bit of leeway to be able to say, I'm going to defend America and Americans, to be able to make that immediate decision. You can't have 535 commanders in chief. You can't have Congress debate it for a while there's a process of an attack that's oncoming. But you also don't have unlimited authority for the executive branch either. This is that wonderful separation of powers that's got to be there.
Yeah. Now, Defense Secretary Hegseth has not rolled out boots on the ground. Do you support that right now?
So I don't right now, and I think there's a big difference between having an aerial attack and making them stop attacking us and trying to be able to reset Iran so the Iranian people can determine their future, and boots on the ground actually trying to be able to occupy. Our goal is not to be able to occupy Iran. That should not be the focus.
And now, as we look at the impact here to Oklahoma, what would we say to Oklahomans here as we're looking at that impact? We do have a lot of major military bases here. Should people be concerned about safety?
always we should watch out for each other. I mean, what happened in Austin, Texas this weekend tells everybody we still got to be able to watch out. There are people that do crazy things and awful things. And so we've got to be able to pay attention to all of our security. All of our bases have all stepped up. But I would tell you, just for all of us here in the central Oklahoma area, Tinker Air Force Base is one of the first bases that actually gets engaged in any kind of operation like this because of the assets that we have right here in this area. When we took out Maduro, the first area to be able to launch was Tinker Air Force Base in that operation. They were literally the first domino. I would not be surprised if the first domino to be able to move wasn't Tinker this time as well. And this is a very important asset for the entire nation that we have right here in Oklahoma, but it also makes our security very important.
Now, another concern, not just for Oklahomans, but just people across the country, is how this is going to impact them economically.
Yeah.
Gas prices,
Yeah.
what are we looking at?
That'll be the first thing that people will experience. Gas prices are based on the price to refill the tank, not what's in the tank right now. What does it take to refill it? And so every energy company has to be able to look at it and say, okay, what's the price of crude now? What's that going to mean for refining capabilities? And what does it take to refill this tank? So we will see gas prices rise immediately on it because Iran is now choking off that narrow point area right next to Iran, where about 20% of the world's oil actually moves on a regular basis through tankers. So we'll experience some higher prices. Depending on the length of this war and what happens in what's called the Strait of Hormuz, those prices could come down as well, just as rapidly.
Yeah, and Senator Lankford, before we go, your final message to Oklahomans, the people of America, as we continue watching this conflict unfold, and we've already lost some American lives in this. The president isn't ruling out more. What is your message?
Yeah, it's difficult. We've already lost 4 Americans so far in this horrible war that's here. This is a last resort. No one runs into a war. This is after years of diplomacy and years of trying to be able to stop their nuclear program, years of them trying to be able to threaten their neighbors. The reason Iran immediately launched weapons at every one of their neighbors is because they've literally been at ongoing war with every one of their neighbors for the longest time. This was just their excuse to be able to launch out, to be able to push back. So keep praying for our troops, keep supporting the folks that are around you. We'll continue to be able to watch out for each other and for any kind of threats that may be here from a domestic terrorist or through someone that may be a foreign terrorist that's actually coming to the United States as well.
All right, Senator Lankford, thank you so much for your time. I know you're heading straight to D.C. after this. Keep us updated as we continue watching this. Again, thank you so much for coming in.
No, thank you.
Of course.